Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I am Gillian Berry and I am so excited for today's video. We have an absolutely amazing interview in store for you guys. We have a legend in the house. We have Osborne. She is a 30-year fruitarian. So she has come by popular demand on the channel. I'm going to ask some great questions. You guys are going to want to stick around to the end. She's truly incredible. And you guys, my viewers, have a lot of questions as well, which I will get answered at the end of this as well. So let's get right into it. Hi, Anne. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. And thanks very much for inviting me onto your channel.
Yeah, thank you for coming on the channel and you're dealing with you like through the last couple of weeks. You're such a kind, beautiful person. So I'm so excited to talk to you today. And I would love to start by asking what led you to become a fruitarian?
Well, it all goes back to when I was about 20 and I was at university and I decided to become vegan purely for ethical reasons. There was nothing concerning about my health. I thought I was in pretty good health at 20. I didn't have any major health concerns, but I was no longer comfortable with some of the practices in the dairy and the egg industry. So I made the decision to give up all animal products, and I was already a vegetarian. And I was at university and I had to walk up this big hill to get from my student digs to the university every morning. And the very next day, after I gave up all animal products, I was walking up the hill and I suddenly noticed that I wasn't out of breath or wheezy. And up until that point, every time I got near the top of the hill, I'd have a tightness in my chest and I'd be wheezy. And it was the very next day afterwards. And it was like, wow, I wasn't expecting any health benefits. It was purely for ethical benefits. I thought I was pretty healthy. But here, the very next day, and I'm experiencing this amazing health benefit, totally unexpected. So from that moment on, I became very interested in the connection between what we put in our bodies and how we feel. And I just read and researched. I tried lots of different types of vegan diet. I knew I'd always be vegan ethically, but I was interested to try different diets from a health point of view. So I tried the Ann Wigmore, lots of sprouts, wheatgrass type of raw vegan diet. I tried our whole food vegan macrobiotic diet. I tried a general vegan diet, and I felt pretty good on all of them, but not that good that I stuck on any particular type of vegan diet for more than about a year and a half. And then when I was back in my hometown of Leicester about 4 years later, when I was 24, I went to a local animal rights meeting and there was a presenter there and his name was David Shelley. And he was on a fruitarian diet and he looked amazing. He had great skin, great energy. He cycled everywhere. And I thought whatever he's doing is working really well for him. And there was a whole group of us. We were all ethical vegans and we all thought, we want some of what he's got, we want to try this. And so that's when I started out on the fruitarian diet. And I was pregnant at the time, in the early stages of pregnancy, with my eldest son. And so I didn't rush into it. I did a gradual transition. So gradually I ate more and more fruit and less cooked vegan food until after about a year, I was on a fully raw fruitarian diet. And I've stuck with it, and it's stuck with me for the past 30 years. And I have never experienced a diet that has worked so well and ticked all the boxes, like health-wise, ethically, environmentally, because it has to tick all those boxes. It's no good if it's great for your health, if it's not great for your ethics, or if it's not good for the environment. So yes, I really appreciate the fact that I found this diet fairly early on in my life, and yeah, I've just loved it.
Wow. And I'm wondering, have you had any other plant foods over the years or only fruit for 30 years? Like, if you had, like, do you ever eat salads or anything like that?
I occasionally eat salads. I'm just not really attracted to them. And David Shelley, who I met and got me into the fruitarian diet, he was very much coming from the Arnold Ehret point of view, whereas fruit and tender greens, if desired, is part of the diet. So there was no push, you have to eat greens. If you desire them, you can eat greens. And I'm just generally not attracted to eating greens. Occasionally I'll have a salad, occasionally I'll have some raw vegetables, but for the most part, I don't even kind of see them. They're not really part of my diet. And so, yes, the vast majority of my diet is fruit with occasional nuts, with occasional greens, with occasional other raw vegetables. But yes, the vast majority is fruit. And I think a lot of people say, well, you have to have greens for the minerals. And I would agree that you have to meet your micronutrient needs on this diet. That's very, very important. So you do need to ensure you're getting enough vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants. But I do believe if you can access really good quality fruit, grown in good soil and picked properly ripe, then you can meet those needs on a mostly fruit diet. But if you can't access such great quality fruit, yes, you may need to eat more greens. And I think it pays to have a flexibility so that if you're in a situation where you need to eat more greens, or you can't access the fruits that you normally do, to be open to that. And so I don't think greens are bad, but I do think that it is possible, given the right circumstances, that people can thrive, because this diet is about thriving. It's not about existing. It's about feeling really, really good, that you can do that if you're just having fruit, as long as that fruit is of a sufficient quality and contains the nutrients that you need to, be very well and healthy.
Yeah, absolutely. Great points there. Well said. And I'm wondering, do you notice a difference in how you feel when you're all fruit versus if you have those nuts or have that salad?
I think not so much with salad, but I
Mm,
think, yes, with nuts. So occasionally for celebrations, I'll make like a raw fruitarian cake, which has nuts
mhm.
and dried fruit in it. And I do feel that's a bit heavier. And I do feel that nuts don't work so well with me personally, with my digestive system. And usually for the fats, I will go with avocado or durian or young coconut as being preferable to the regular nuts. I think some people, nuts work really well. And I think it's very, very important in this diet to do what works well for you personally, to try things, because everybody is different. For sure, I believe we all have the same body design. We're all frugivores by design, and nothing that I've read or researched in the past 30 years has led me to believe anything else than by design we're frugivores. But our DNA changes with lifestyle choices. And so decisions that our grandparents, our great-grandparents, our parents have made will have affected our DNA, so
Mhm.
that we all have slightly different needs. So one person may need to eat 4,000 calories a day. That's fine if that works for them and they're maintaining their weight on that amount of calories. But another person may only need 1,500 calories a day.
Mhm.
And that may work very well for them. And it's all about finding what works for you as an individual and not making blanket prescriptions. And our needs aren't always static, they may change over time. So there may be periods where we need more fatty fruits or more greens or more calories, and that's fine. And it's about being open, I think, to that and finding what works for us as an individual. So one person might say, oh, I do great, I love doing mono orange juice diets. Another
Mhm.
person may find that orange juice doesn't work for them. They do better with different fruits. Again,
Mhm.
just because something works for one person doesn't necessarily mean it will work the same for you. So it's all about finding what works for you. And you can read 1,000 books, you can listen to 1,000 different people, but your own body, if you listen to your own body, is your own best teacher. And
Mhm.
if you listen to what your body's trying to tell you, it will tell you what you need and what you need more of. And it will tell you what foods work best for you. And you will desire some fruits and maybe not desire others. And it's not the same as desiring processed or cooked foods, because we desire them more as a craving because they're addictive, both sort of physically and mentally. Whereas when we're eating mono foods in their pure natural state, we can listen to our body, we can listen to our cravings because they're not corrupted. So if we're really desiring peaches or really desiring mangoes or really desiring avocado, then we can listen to that, because it's not the same as saying, oh, I really want candy or I really want
Mhm.
chips or crisps, because there's excitotoxins in foods. There's all sorts of addictive elements in other foods that are processed and cooked, whereas those elements aren't present in pure plant foods that aren't processed. So I think we really can listen to our bodies and trust our bodies. And a lot of the time we're disempowered. So we're told, listen to this person, or listen to the doctor, or listen to this expert, and not to trust our own bodies. And I think when we do learn to trust our own bodies and tune into what our bodies are saying, it's very empowering, because our bodies are what heal us. Nothing else, no herbs, no fruit. In the end, it's our own body that heals. And certainly when we eat a good diet and when we exercise and rest and get sufficient sunshine, then our bodies can heal to the best of their capabilities. But it is our own bodies that heal, and our own bodies that let us know what they need. But it's just listening and having faith in ourselves. I think it's really important.
Absolutely. And I feel like it's so much easier to listen to your body when you start eating this clean and you eat this way. Then you have a deeper connection to yourself and you know more what your body wants.
Yes, yes, for sure. Because a lot of foods, as I said before, have things called excitotoxins in that cause us to crave them. And also, our gut biome is very, very important in determining our health. And more we're hearing about the gut biome and how important that environment is. And if we're eating a certain type of diet that includes a lot of junk foods or processed foods, we have different bacteria in our gut environment. And those bacteria will cause us to crave the foods that they want, to eat, because they're used to junk foods. So there's an actual craving caused by the bacteria in our guts.
Absolutely.
And when we change our diet, our gut biome changes. So all the microbes in our gut change and become very different. And so therefore, we don't have those same cravings. And a lot of people say, well, what about cravings? And I think in the beginning, people do crave things. But over time, as you heal your gut and as you heal your intestines and your whole bodily system, then you will not have the same cravings, because you have a very different gut biome. And the gut biome is directly connected to our brain, and it's often called the second brain. So we've got our first brain and our guts. So that also affects our mental cravings, because they're very much connected. Yeah,
Absolutely. And do you remember for you how long it took to get rid of the cravings?
I think it was a couple of years, really. And it was interesting. I had one craving about 18 months into the fruit diet. I was craving eggs, scrambled eggs, really, really badly. I hadn't had eggs for years, because I'd been vegan for 4 years prior to becoming fruitarian. And it was such a strong craving that I think if I hadn't been an ethical vegan, I would have just thought, right, I'm just going to have some eggs. But ethically, that wasn't appropriate for me. And after a day and a half, it went, and it never came back again. And I think that sometimes cravings can come about as detox. Maybe we're sort of clearing something out and it takes a while. And while we're clearing it out, there's that kind of memory, both in our gut and our brain, that gives us a craving. But the fact that it went away and never came back again leads me to believe that it wasn't something that I was lacking in my diet that was in eggs that I needed, but it was something coming out, because it didn't come back again. I just thought, I'm not going to have them. I'm just going to see what happens. But for the first couple of years, sometimes I would crave stuff, but it sort of lessened and lessened. And I think what's really important is to access really good quality fruit that you like. It's not a sackcloth and ashes existence. It's an existence of abundance and joy. And I think the most beautiful food on the whole planet. So that when you're getting really, really good quality fruits, there's nothing else that can compare. If you get a really good creamy durian, if you love durian, or if you get really juicy mangoes, if you love mangoes, there's nothing. When I eat a really good piece of fruit, I think there's nothing in my past that comes close. So I think it is about getting quality fruits, and that can be challenging, because commercially, fruits are often grown for their weight, for how long they'll keep in storage, rather than their flavors and their nutritional qualities. But I think more and more people are becoming aware of how important it is to get really good quality fruits. So they're opting for organic, or they're growing their own, or they're foraging, or they're going for biodynamic fruits, which are always excellent. So there are more options if we look for them. And sometimes people will say it's too expensive. I can't afford organic fruits. And I have done this diet while I was on a very, very low income with a child as a single parent, and I still managed to access organic fruits and really good quality fruits. So I think it's very important what we tell ourselves. If we tell ourselves, I can't afford organic fruits, I can't access them, then that will come into play. But I know, because I've been there on a low income with a child, that it is possible to eat really well on a low income if we really want it. And it's kind of important to us, because what we place as important in our lives, what we focus on, is what will come into reality. So I think whatever income we're on, we can eat good quality fruits, we can grow our own. If we don't have land, we can become part of a community garden, or we can rent some land. In England, they have allotment systems where you can rent for a very small price a piece of land where you can grow your own food. So I think there are options. We can learn to forage, and foraging, we have to be careful, because not all fruits are edible for humans. Some are toxic, some are more suitable for birds. So if we do forage, get a really good guidebook with pictures in that's appropriate for your area, because different areas have different forageable fruits, preferably photos, which are better for identification. So foraging is a great way to supplement the diet, because foraged foods tend to be high in micronutrients. So while we might not be able to forage all of our foods, so the vast majority of our calories or our macronutrients will be coming from commercially grown fruits, if just a small percentage of our diet we can use foraged fruits, we can really up our micronutrient content. Things like blackberries, mulberries, cherries, which can often be foraged, are very high in minerals, including calcium and antioxidants, and we can freeze them. So we can freeze, if we get a lot of, say in the autumn and the summer, we forage a lot of fruits, then we can freeze them or dry them so that we have them in the spring and the winter when the fruits aren't so accessible. So there are ways, if you really want to do something, and I think we all know this, whatever our passions, whatever our focus is in life, that's what we will attract. The more we love fruit, the more we will attract it into our lives, and we'll find that people will gift us fruit. We will meet people that have got fruit trees in their garden, and they will, say, hey, come and pick these mulberries or pick these apples and things like that. And whatever area we're in, whether it's a temperate climate or subtropical or tropical, there is forageable and wild fruits about. It's just getting to know them and when they're in season, and getting a good guidebook. So yeah, it's developing strategies so that we can access really good fruits, whatever our budget is. And I do believe that's possible, because from my own experience on a low income, as a single parent, I still managed to get good quality fruit. And that for me is one of the really important factors in succeeding on this diet.
Absolutely. And can I ask, what are you currently eating in a day on the fruitarian diet?
Well, I've just moved to far north Queensland, which is it's a generally tropical climate, but I'm a bit higher up. I'm high altitude, so my climate is subtropical, which means I can access both subtropical and tropical fruits. So I'm eating a lot of papaya. I think papaya, especially the red papaya, is a super fruit. It's very anti-inflammatory. It's one of the fruits that has a really high omega-3 to omega-6 ratio. It has a lot of antioxidants in it that are good for eye health and general anti-inflammatory properties. So I eat a lot of papaya because they're very reasonably priced around here, because they grow here. And again, it's about finding what's suitable in your area. When I lived in a temperate climate, I didn't tend to get good papaya. We got a lot of other subtropical fruits imported, but papaya weren't. So now I live in the subtropics, I do access papaya a lot. So I eat a lot of papaya. I eat in mono meals generally. So I eat one fruit at a time. One reason for that is because it has to stand alone. If you have fruit and it's not so good and you think, well, I'll put in a smoothie or I'll mix it with something else. But if you eat a mono meal, you have to have really good tasting fruit. You can't have anything that's subpar. Another reason is it digests more easily. So I'll have maybe a mono meal of papaya for breakfast, and then later I'll have something else that's seasonal. So at the moment we've got a lot of nice bananas, a lot of small monkey bananas. So I might have a meal of bananas. And then towards the middle of the day, if I'm eating avocados, I don't always eat avocados. I'll have a meal of avocados. Again, mono meal, so 1 or 2 avocados. And then later in the day, it'll be more juicy fruit. Or sometimes it will be coconut water because we get coconuts growing in the area. So I might have some chocolate sapote, which grow very well here. I might have some tamarillo, which we've got growing on the property. Or I might have some pineapples, or some mangoes. The mangoes are still just in season in Australia. So really it's just mono meals throughout the day of seasonal fruit. Occasionally I'll have nuts, but not as a daily thing. And again, occasionally salad, but mostly, yeah, it's just fruit and local fruit. I'm very fortunate at the moment because I can eat all local fruit, all fruit from a radius of about 50 kilometers because it grows so well here. But when I lived in the UK, I had to rely more on imported fruits. And what I found really helped in the UK, especially in the early days, was to form an organic fruit buying group. So we formed a group and we found a wholesaler of organic fruit, and we were accessing really great quality fruit from all over the world. And that really helped, especially at the start of the diet, to have such wonderful tasting fruits. Really helped with any cravings and also helped with the nutritional content of the diet. So I would suggest for anybody that lives in an area where there aren't a lot of good local quality fruits, to form a buying group with a group of other people. It really brings the cost down because you're buying boxes at a time of organic fruit, and it gives you variety, because if there's 6 or 7 of you, maybe you can afford 6 or 7 boxes of different fruits, so you get more variety. And that for me was very, very helpful in the early days of the diet.
And do you feel like eating a lot of calories is really what makes this diet work? I know for me, as like a fully raw vegan, I eat a variety. Eating a lot is what makes me thrive. So do you feel like somebody who's eating fruitarian needs to make sure they're eating a lot of calories?
I think eating enough
Mm-hmm.
and enough for their needs, and that can change. When I started out on this diet, I had to eat a lot. I was eating a lot of calories to maintain my weight. I had a great amount of energy always, but I found it challenging to maintain my weight. And sometimes I would need to eat avocados or nuts or seeds to maintain my weight. And then I think it's about 2 years into the diet, I did an extended orange juice mono diet. I had no expectations going into the orange juice mono diet. I was doing it because a friend was doing it, and I was just going to keep them company. So I
Mm-hmm.
didn't have any expectations, which is useful sometimes, just to go in very open-minded. And in the end, my friend didn't even do a day on the diet, but I carried on and I did 52 days, which
Wow.
I wasn't expecting to do. And what I found after I finished that diet was that I needed to eat a lot less fruit to maintain my weight. And I wasn't expecting it. And I felt the fruit was doing me so much more good.
Mm-hmm.
So I concluded that during that orange juice diet, my intestines has kind of rejuvenated a bit and cleaned out. And so I was assimilating so much more. And it is very much about assimilation, because one person can eat 3,000 calories a day. Now, if they've had past gut issues, if they've had Crohn's disease, if they've used a lot of medication or recreational drugs, they might only be assimilating 20% of the calories. A second person may eat 1,500 calories a day,
Mm-hmm.
but it's assimilating 80% because they've got a better gut health. And so therefore, it's not just about what goes in terms of calories, it's really about what you're assimilating. So person B is actually assimilating more, even though they're eating less calories. So I think that's very important, to eat enough for your needs. One person may need 5,000
Mm-hmm.
calories, and that's enough for them. But another person may eat 5,000 calories and it's too much. They gain weight, they don't feel as good. It's always about eating enough for your needs. And I did need to eat a lot more. Now I don't need to eat so much. I can do a mono diet. I did a mono diet for 9 days on papaya and just ate 3 papayas a day and maintained my weight and my energy. but that might not be the case for everyone. And I do think a lot of people who've been doing this long term, a lot of people I know who've been doing this long term, need to eat less over time. And I think because our digestive system cleans up and it becomes more effective and assimilates both the macro and the micronutrients better. And it's all about assimilation. It doesn't matter how much you eat if you're not assimilating what you're eating. And so it really is about finding what works for you. So if you're eating 3,000 calories and you're losing weight, or you feel you're not having the energy you need, you may need to eat more. But if you're eating 3,000 calories and you're finding you're putting on weight and you're feeling a bit stuffed, then you may need to eat less. It doesn't matter what anybody else is doing, because we've all had different past health histories. We're all coming from a different place. We're all in different stages with our gut health, and that's vital. So I don't need to eat a lot particularly. I can eat quite a small amount of fruit compared to a lot of people and still have great energy. And I'm very physically active. I run 10 kilometers every other day. I do a lot of gardening. I'm sort of like get up early in the morning usually, and I go to bed nicely tired, but after a full physical day. So it's not like I just sit on a computer all day. I do a lot of physical exercise as well, and I find I can get by with 1.5 to 2,000 calories a day. That might not be the case for everyone, and it wasn't the case for me when I started. So I think it's very much your individual needs, and put an importance on your individual needs, because one person says you need this amount of calories. They probably do, and that's good for them, but you might not. And it's about finding what works well for you. And that might not be static. You might find things change over time, and then just embrace that. And as long as you have good energy, as long as you are not losing or gaining weight, if you don't want to, you know, as long as your weight is in a good place, and look at other things. How are your nails? How is your hair? How, is your wound healing? And there's a lot of things you can look at to see if you're getting your needs met, both in terms of macronutrients, which is fats, proteins, and carbohydrates, but also in terms of micronutrients, which are your vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants. And you will know if you're deficient either in calories or in your micronutrients, because things won't work well. You won't feel so good. You won't have energy. Your wounds may take a long time to heal. You may bruise easily. Your hair may be, not the way you want it to be, that kind of thing. So just go on how you're feeling and your weight and all sorts of things. It's not just a simple matter of looking at a piece of paper and saying I need X amount of calories. It's a bit more complex, I think, than that.
And do you ever check your blood work?
I haven't for a long time. The last time I had my blood work checked, everything was fine. Everything was in normal range. B12 tends to be in normal range, but low. But I've never had any B12 deficiencies. I took B12 when I was pregnant and breastfeeding, but generally I don't take it. But if I was showing any symptoms of B12 deficiency, yes, I would supplement, because I think it's really important that we're not deficient in B12. I have read that a lot of long-term fruitarians can show low, within normal, but low B12 and not have any deficiency symptoms. But again, it's an individual thing. And I know people that have been on this diet for 20 years and don't supplement B12 and have no deficiencies. I've also personally known people that have been doing the diet for 18 months and have been severely B12 deficient and needed to supplement. And because as soon as you supplement, the deficiency will go away. So it's an individual thing. And with vitamin D as well, I live in quite a sunny climate. And so my vitamin D levels are fine. But if I lived in a less sunny climate, I would consider supplementing a good quality vegan vitamin D, or getting a, like vitamin D lamp. So yeah, my blood works have been fine on this diet, but I don't, just rely on blood work. It's more about how you're feeling, how, your wounds are healing, your energy levels, your hair, your skin, your nails, that kind of thing. But yes, the last time I worked, it was fine.
And I know a lot of people say, like, people will come on my channel sometimes and say, this won't work. Like, I'm a 6-year raw vegan. People say this won't work
Mm,
long term
mm,
because you will
yeah.
experience, I haven't experienced any deterioration, to be honest. Like, it's totally, I had so many health problems before, but people
Mhm,
say like you'll experience dental problems, hair loss, like
mm,
everything
yeah.
couldn't be further from the truth. But how has your
Mm.
experience been, especially because you said you did a long term juice, the orange juice cleanse, right? So were your teeth impacted by that? Or I know some people think like, oh, it's going to harm your teeth. How have your teeth been over the years, your hair, all of that sort of thing?
Yes, they've been fine. I think at the beginning with my teeth, I thought, oh, I don't need to have such good dental hygiene
Mm-hmm.
because I'm on a fruit diet, and that was a mistake. I think you
Mm-hmm.
still really need to have good dental hygiene. So going back, that's one thing I would have changed. I think your dental hygiene is imperative because if you don't have the bacteria in your mouth that cause decay, then you can't get tooth decay, and that means cleaning your teeth regularly. Another important thing is not brushing straight after you've had acidic foods, because you can brush the fruit acids into your enamel and cause enamel damage. So brush your teeth before and rinse with water afterwards. So there's two main things: there's decay and there's enamel damage, which you can have both or. So with the orange juice, that would be more enamel erosion. So it's very important to get properly ripe oranges, and you can test the pH of oranges. For instance, on one day I got 2 lots of oranges. The first lot had a pH of 6, which is pretty good for oranges because 7 is neutral. The others had pH 4. Now, I wouldn't juice the pH 4 oranges, they're too acidic. Each pH is a times 10, so the difference between pH 6 and pH 4 is potentially 100 times more acidic, the pH 4. So with orange juice, properly ripe oranges is very important. If you
Mm-hmm.
have issues with enamel erosion, then I wouldn't suggest doing an acidic fruit mono diet. So I would suggest avoiding kiwis, oranges, pineapples, unless they're particularly ripe. And with orange juice, you can use a straw. In the early days, I did one orange juice mono diet, and I juiced the oranges with my teeth, which was a mistake, and I got some enamel erosion. And the dentist said that should come back, and it did. I did a year where I fasted every other day, and I think that helped. But yes, the enamel came back because it wasn't deep enamel
Mm-hmm.
erosion. So with dental health, it's very important to eat fruits that have a good calcium level in them. So that includes figs are good,
Mm-hmm.
oranges are good. Eat properly ripe fruits. If you eat anything and you feel it on your teeth, that is too acidic. You shouldn't have that feeling. Like if it's an underripe banana or underripe citrus, you sometimes can feel it a bit furry on your teeth. Immediately rinse with water if you have anything on your teeth, because if you can feel it, that can potentially damage the enamel. Brush before and rinse afterwards, with the exception of dried fruit. I would limit dried fruit. I hardly eat any dried fruit. Dried fruit can stick to the teeth. Many people who've experienced dental issues have said they think it's because of dried fruit, because dried fruit will stick to the teeth. So if you have
Mm-hmm.
dried fruit, immediately brush your teeth afterwards and make sure that all the dried fruit is off your teeth, because that can cause dental problems. Use a good toothpaste. A good one that I use is Theodent, which is made in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
It contains an extract from cacao, and it helps prevent decay in the same, and also remineralizes the teeth in the same way as fluoride. But if you don't like using fluoride, it contains this cacao extract instead of fluoride, and I've used that for about 7 years, and I find that to be very good toothpaste. So there are strategies you can do. Dental hygiene is very, very important. Limiting unripe fruits. If you have any dental issues, then avoiding the pH acidic fruits. Eating fruits that are high in calcium, and rinsing teeth after eating, and especially if you eat anything and you can feel it on your teeth. So I
Mm-hmm.
think they're important factors. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I know another thing people have experienced, I haven't experienced this, but a lot of people say some people say they experience menstrual cycle issues, like a loss of period. So is this something you've ever experienced over the years, or what are your thoughts on this?
Well, I never skipped, even when I was doing orange juice mono diets and my body fat was like about 9%, which is really low for me. It's not normally that low. I still had a regular period. always had regular periods on this diet. What I noticed was I used to have very heavy, painful periods before I went raw, and they changed. So my periods became a lot lighter and less painful, and then it went to a stage where there's no pain at all. I always used to know if I was going to have a period because a day before I'd get cramps, and so like I didn't know because I wasn't getting those cramps. And now I'm just coming into menopause, and that's been amazing because it's just like my periods stopped. About a year ago, I didn't have any symptoms of menopause. It was just my periods stopped. That's the only way I knew I was in menopause. I haven't had hot flashes. I haven't had mood swings. I haven't had any of the other symptoms that a lot of people get. So I would say,
Wow.
in my experience, the raw fruit diet is very good for the female cycle in terms of having regular pain-free periods, and also coming into menopause, kind of sailing through it, which was surprising because you hear a lot of horror stories about menopause. And I think for myself, because I had such heavy periods, they were never going to disappear. They got a lot lighter. I have heard of people whose periods have stopped, they're still ovulating, and you can test, you can do a hormonal test to see if you're ovulating, because the difference between your periods stopping because you're unhealthy and you've stopped ovulating, and the difference between you're just having no blood loss but you're still ovulating is quite a big difference. So you can always test that. And I think some women can still ovulate and have no blood loss. They're still having a period but no blood loss. But I don't think that didn't ever happen to me, because I think my periods were so heavy before, they just got a lot lighter. And it may be that women that have lighter periods anyway still have a cycle but don't have blood loss. But yes, I would check, because there's definite difference between stopping your period in terms of blood because your body's not in a healthy place to continue a pregnancy, or being healthy but just not having the blood loss but still ovulating. Yeah.
And has your libido been okay over the years as well? If you don't mind me asking.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, very good, very
Yeah.
good,
Good.
and I think, again, it's all to do with your endocrine system, and hormones are such tiny, tiny little secretions, but they affect us so much. As women who have, premenstrual syndrome, their whole personality changes in the days before their period because of these hormones. And when our hormones are out of whack, then we experience all sorts of issues. And one of the most common drugs that people take is thyroxine. People have issues with the thyroid gland. But I think this diet is ideal for balancing our whole endocrine system. And in my experience, I've had no issues with my thyroid, with my, hormonal system, with all the sort of the glands of the body. They've been fine. And yes, I've always had a good libido on this diet. And I think it's not just for one part of the endocrine system. I think the raw fruitarian diet is great to balance our hormones generally, so that our bodies work as they're designed to work, because we aren't designed to have problems. And so many women have problems with their female cycle. So many women have problems with their thyroid gland, either not working properly, underworking, or overworking. So if only we can balance those glands ourselves, then, we don't have to rely on any medications. So yes, yeah.
And I'm wondering, so back to when you first transitioned, did you experience a lot of detox? And for some people who are experiencing detox, say it's been a few months, or how do you think they can differentiate between this is detox or maybe this isn't working and something's wrong?
Yeah, I didn't experience a lot of detox at all. And I think the reason for that was a gradual transition. I'd been vegetarian, then vegan, and gradually refined my diet. So I'd gradually, even before I was on a fruit diet, cut out white flour, white sugar, highly processed foods. Had a lot of, whatever diet I was doing had a lot of unprocessed food in it. And then when I went onto the fruitarian diet, I did about a year transition period. So I never experienced any major detox that I was aware of. Although even now, if I go on a orange juice mono diet, I do feel some kind of detox. And people say, why, you've been doing this diet for 30 years. Why do you still need to do a mono diet? And I think if I was living in a perfect environment, I wouldn't. But we get exposed to electromagnetic pollution, vehicle pollution, stress, airborne pollutants, all sorts of things that we have no control over. And so I find for myself doing a mono diet 2 or 3 times a year is like going to the garage for a service. It just helps me deal with those things in my life that I have no control over. So I didn't notice huge detox at all at the beginning, but I do notice if I go on a water fast or a mono diet, there is still some detox happening. I think one thing that we can do to see if something we're going through is detox or something else is potentially go on a 2-day water fast. If we go on a 2-day water fast and things get worse, it's more likely detox, because that will speed up the detox. If it's another problem, it's a reaction to something we're eating or something we're doing, then it will most likely get better when we're on a water fast, because we're not including that in our life anymore, unless it's an environmental pollution. So I think one thing to see if it's like detox or not is to do a water fast for 2 days. If it gets worse, it's more likely detox, because you're going in deeper to the detox. If it gets better, maybe think, well, I don't think this is detox. If I'm going on a water fast and it's getting better, is it something I'm eating? Is it something in my environment? Is it something that I can change? And that's one way I would suggest that you can look to see if it's detox or not. And also try and tune into your body and look at things like, yes, some people do lose hair and then grow it again, but it shouldn't be ongoing that you're losing hair. It shouldn't be ongoing for years and years that you're having skin problems. And so I think with doing the 2-day water fast, if you're having skin problems and you think, is this detox? And you do 2 days water fast and it clears, then it's probably not detox. It's probably something that you're eating or something that you're doing or something you're putting topically on your skin that's causing that issue. Because, yeah, I mean, so if you look at, from a biological point of view, our bodies need to detox every day, but our bodies should be able to do that detox. It's just all the waste products from metabolism that happens every day. But yeah, and also ask your body, ask yourself, meditate on that and see what answers you get. At a subconscious level, your body really knows what's going on, but we don't always know what's happening.
Yeah, absolutely. And what were all the benefits that you noticed when you first went fruitarian? I forgot to ask you before.
A lot of energy. I had a lot of energy. My digestion was improved. My skin was improved. I got great sleep. And I woke up in the morning. One thing I think is a great barometer for, is what I'm doing working for me? How do you feel very first thing in the morning? Now, not if you've had a particularly rough night or if you've had a late night, but generally, how do you feel first thing in the morning? And when I started going on the fruit, I would jump out of bed in the morning. I'm ready to go. Like even now, I still like get out of bed at 4, 5 o'clock in the morning if I have an early start, and I feel fine. Even when I was vegan, like cooked vegan, in the morning I'd feel, oh, I need to have a shower or I need to have something to eat, and I just feel groggy and almost hungover in the mornings, even though I hadn't drunk alcohol for years. But that was one thing that I really noticed on a fruit diet, is that in the morning you're ready to go, you feel good, you feel fresh, your body odor smells good. And that was one thing. I did this transition diet for about a year. And it was very useful for me because it showed me what works and what doesn't work. And it was like, I'd do say for 3 months or 2 months, I'd just do fruit. And then I'd go and have a bit of cooked food. And it wouldn't be anything really processed. It would be maybe a sweet potato at night or an Irish potato at night. But what I noticed in that transition period, if I had those cooked foods for more than one day, so for 2 days in a row, my body odor would change and my mouth, the taste in my mouth when I woke up in the morning would be different. And I didn't like it as much. And I thought, I'm ready, I'm ready to let go of this cooked food because I feel better when I just have all raw. And again, that might not be the case for everybody. Some people can do great on 80% raw, 20% cooked, and they feel better like that, and it suits them better for social situations or for family situations, then that's great. But for me, I definitely felt better doing 100% raw in terms of my body odor, my energy, how I felt first thing in the morning. So
Great point.
that's a huge benefit for me, is just you know, being able to spring out of bed in the morning. And even when I was 18, I didn't spring out of bed like I do now. So yeah.
Me too. And the fruit, even when I do a mono fruit cleanse, I feel just the best. You wake up, you're like, wow,
Yes,
you barely
yes,
need any sleep.
yes, yeah. And
Yeah.
that is an advantage as well, because some people say, oh, you need all this amount of sleep. And I think for some people, maybe you do. But for me, it frees up a lot more time because, yeah, and again, especially doing a mono diet, I can have less sleep and wake up and feel really refreshed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's another benefit.
Yeah. And I'm wondering, so how have you managed this socially over the years? Because I know not too many people eat this way, right? So how has that been socially? I'm not sure if you've had jobs over the years where you've worked for other people and you've had to manage it, and also like at weddings or restaurants, just overall socially.
I think again, it comes down to our faith in the diet. And I think if we have faith in the diet, and that's not blind faith, that's not saying, right, I'm going to be a fruitarian and I'll be a fruitarian for 30 years and I don't need to change anything.
Mm-hmm.
It's about reading, researching, looking at biology, anatomy, physiology, networking with other people. I'm continually researching this diet. I have been for 30 years. Nothing I found during that 30 years has led me to believe that we are anything other than frugivores. But that knowledge of anatomy, biology, dietetics, it gives me a good foundation. I have a lot of faith in this diet, and I think that is mirrored back to you socially.
Mm-hmm.
If you're thinking, oh gosh, I'm not sure about this diet, I don't know if it's the right diet, people pick up on that energy. If you have
Mm-hmm.
confidence, people pick up on that. And socially, I've had
Mm-hmm.
a really good time socially. And with my kids, I've brought up 2 kids on this diet. I found that people have accepted their diets and been very positive about it, and also they were very, very healthy on the diet. So that's another thing, that, you know, if you see a healthy, happy child, it's hard to say, oh
Mm-hmm.
well, you shouldn't be feeding your child this diet.
Mm-hmm.
And people, I think, if we have expectations and look to the positive, we will get that in our lives. Like for Cappy, he went to a birthday party. Now the person wasn't even vegan or raw vegan. They made the whole party raw vegan
Wow.
because Cappy was going to the party. So people can surprise us.
Mm-hmm.
With Camlo, he went to school, and in his first year at school, the children had a Christmas stocking. And the teachers and the teacher's assistant filled his stocking full of dried fruit and nuts, which was really sweet. So a lot of the time people will go the extra mile.
Mm-hmm.
I've been to all sorts of restaurants. I've stayed, you know, in 5-star hotels. I've been to pubs, clubs, and I've always been catered for. And sometimes it's
Mm-hmm.
a bit of preparation. So if you're going out for a meal, you can ring up the restaurant in advance and say, can you do me a fruit platter? Just plain fruit,
Mm-hmm.
no dressing, just fruit. And most times they will say yes. If they say no, we can't, then I will say, well, can I bring my plate of fruit in? And you'll just plate it up for me. And I've never had them say no to that. So they'll just charge you a plating fee, and then you can sit down. And I've even been to like this 5-star restaurant, and I had 3 courses of watermelon because I was on a melon on a diet. And
Mm-hmm.
that's fine. And I
Yeah.
think if we're not self-conscious, if we're confident in what we're doing, I'm doing this diet because it's good for me, it's good for the planet, it's good
Mm-hmm.
for the animals, I'm happy doing it. So I'm really not concerned what other people think. Then we'll have fun with it, and it doesn't
Yeah.
have to be an issue. And there are strategies we can do. I've eaten out at all sorts of places. I've had really good social interactions, and with my children, because all kids love fruit. And
Mm-hmm.
if you have great quality fruit, most children haven't tried good quality fruit, just general supermarket sub-quality unripe fruit, and they
Mm-hmm.
love fruit.
They
And so I've
do.
never had a problem. When they come and play with my kids, they've always shared fruit.
Mm-hmm.
And when my kids often have been eating fruit, and the next door neighbors, they've all said, oh, can we have some? Can we have some? And they want to share it. So
Mm-hmm.
socially, I haven't had any problems. And I think a lot of that is your attitude. If
Mm-hmm.
you think you're going to have problems, if you think, oh, I'm being difficult, I'm being different, people are going to look at me,
Mm-hmm.
that will get mirrored back at you. But if you think, I'm happy with what I'm doing, I've got faith in what I'm doing, it works for me. I'm not saying it works for everybody. I'm not saying everybody has to do what I'm doing, but for me, it's working. I'm on my own path.
Mm-hmm.
Then we don't, I don't think that we can have problems really
Yeah.
if we have attitude. I think our attitude, our mental belief in the diet, our faith, and if we don't have enough faith in the diet, then reassess it. If you think, I'm not sure this is the diet for me, I'm not sure this diet will meet my nutritional needs, do more research, connect with people. If you're not sure, maybe it's not the diet for you. Maybe you need to do more research. I would never say the fruitarian diet is the diet for everyone. You've got to find what works best for you personally. I don't think you can ever push the diet on anyone else. You can show by example, you can share things, you can answer questions, but everybody needs to find the diet for themselves and have that faith in it. Otherwise, it won't work for them personally.
Absolutely. And for somebody who wants to transition to this diet, how would you suggest they start if they don't know how to transition or where to start?
I would suggest you start reading some books, articles, connect with people online, look at anatomy and physiology, look at dietetics, look at micronutrients. I think there's a lot of stuff said about calories, how many calories we need, ratio of calories. But to me, what is really important now is micronutrients, because our soils are being degraded. And if the nutrients are not in the fruit, we're not going to get them. So I think it's really important to access really good organic, wild, biodynamic fruits, local fruits, homegrown fruits. Even if we just grow tomatoes and berries ourselves, which we can grow indoors in an apartment if we don't have a garden or on a balcony, it's important to access good quality fruit. I think, that's something to start out with. And I was fortunate to be part of an organic buying group. I think if I just been eating regular supermarket fruit for all my fruit, then I wouldn't have been so successful long term. And I think look into transition diets. Arnold Ehret and Essie Honorable, who were two of the pioneers who I respect, both recommended transitional diets. So gradually incorporate more fruit and less cooked foods. So maybe to start with, have a fruit breakfast. And it might be challenging at first because we're used to feeling a certain amount of fullness. So if we have cooked carbohydrates or protein foods for breakfast, and then suddenly we're having fruit, it feels a lot lighter. And it can take a while, and you need to eat enough for your needs. There's no judgment. If you need to eat 1,000 calories at breakfast or even more, that's fine. If that works for you, you need to eat, enough for your own needs, and then bring in another fruit meal, maybe for lunch. And so you're having 2 fruit meals, fruit snacks, and have cooked vegan food for your last meal of the day. And then gradually get to the point where you have a few days a week where you have all fruit or all raw foods, and see how that goes. And if you need more greens, more raw vegetables, that's fine. It's what works for you. Some people find they do better with, more raw vegetables. There's no, this is right, this is wrong. It's what works for you, not just, health-wise, but also look at your ethics, look at your environmental, what's important to you environmentally. And and socially as well. If you find socially it works better for you to have some cooked food so you can go out and eat with friends, that's fine. There's no absolutes. And I think we need to take judgment out of this whole diet and lifestyle. There's no like, oh, I'm the better vegan, I'm the better raw vegan. That doesn't exist. That's fallacy. That just sets us up for disappointments and judgments. We're only on our own path. We are not responsible for anybody else's health, or it's not our place to say this person's doing this wrong, this person should be doing this. We need to focus on what we're doing, and our transition diets, again, very personal to ourselves. And but I think transitional diet for me, it was very valuable, and I think it set me up to succeed long term, because it showed me what worked best for me, and what worked best for me was 100% raw. That might be different for someone else. And I can still remember during that transition period not feeling as good doing, say, 90% raw as to doing 100%. So do a transition, play around, find what works best for you. More greens, less greens, more fatty foods, less fatty foods, try it, and then you'll be able to experience what works best for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Well said. And I'd love to ask you some questions from my viewers. They have such good questions for you. And I just have to say, I look so pale next to you here in Toronto, Canada. You have such a nice glow and your skin looks amazing.
Thanks very much. Yes, well, it's pretty warm all year round where I live, which is good for vitamin D. So yeah, I tend to get a bit of a colour.
That's ideal. That's amazing. So AB asks, how often do you eat fats or fatty fruits? And what is your fat intake?
I go through periods when I eat avocados regularly, and when I eat avocados, I tend to have them every day. So I might have one or two avocados a day, or I might
Mhm.
have some coconut flesh. Occasionally, I'll have durian. Durian's quite expensive; it does grow here,
Mm.
so durian will be once or twice a month treat. But when I'm eating avocados, I tend to eat them every day, so I might have one or two avocados a day. Other times I'll do mono diets, or I just won't eat avocados for a few months, and then my fat intake is a lot lower. I would say over the course of a year, it's probably about 10%.
Mhm.
But sometimes it might be 20 when I'm having more avocados. Sometimes it might be less when I'm having no overt fatty foods. But I would
Mhm.
generally, over the course of a year, I'd say it's probably about 10%
Mhm.
fat. Yeah.
Mhm. Okay. And Run Guy says, do you use colonics or enemas?
I don't. I don't.
Mhm.
I know some people do. For me, it was something that I never really got into. I think I've had one enema when I got food poisoning from
Mm.
some dodgy salad.
Mhm.
I'd been on Malta, and I just had blood oranges and blood orange juice. And then I was with a friend, and they said, "Hey, I'll make you a salad." And there was something dodgy on the salad. And I did do an enema then just to get everything out. But
That's yeah.
generally, no, I don't use them. I don't feel a need for them. I think some people do, some people don't. It's a personal choice. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's a great thing to do if you have food poisoning. Good idea. Smart.
Mm.
Yeah. Okay. So YouTube is God's blessing asks, what about pre-diabetics? What about pre-diabetes or diabetics due to high fructose diet, like all the sugars and fruits? A lot of people comment this on my channel all the time, wondering what if you have diabetes, you're pre-diabetic, and all the sugar on the fruits with the fruits.
There is somebody called Robbie Barbero, and he's
Mm-hmm.
got, if you Google him, he has type 1 diabetes, and he's on a raw vegan diet with a lot of fruit. I
Mm-hmm.
have known other people that are type 1 diabetics that have had a fruit diet, but they do have to monitor
Mm-hmm.
their blood sugar, and also people with type 1 diabetes on a raw vegan diet have needed to lessen their amount of insulin. They found that their blood sugar, is it works fine, but I would personally avoid certain fruits. Go for the lower GI fruits. Berries are very good because they're lower in sugar and they're higher in minerals. Avoid
Mm-hmm.
things like seedless grapes. Avoid dried fruit and dates.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, it's possible. And on the other hand, type 2 diabetics, I've often found that they're not diabetic anymore through changing their diet and lifestyle. So through having a raw, unprocessed vegan diet, they're actually no longer diabetic.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, Robbie Barbero, he's in the States, and he is, managing his diabetes on a raw vegan diet and has been for several years. I think sometimes if we focus on things like bananas and dates, they're probably fruits that are more likely to affect your blood sugar and raise it
Mm-hmm.
more. But I did know somebody that was type 1 diabetic and ate a raw, mostly fruit diet, but had to make sure she monitored her blood
Mm-hmm.
sugar. And she said that normally whole fruits would not affect it, but dried fruit, yes, she had to be careful of the dried
Mm-hmm.
fruit. I
Yeah.
think this diet is very holistic. It for me, improves the whole bodily system, and that includes the hormone system and the endocrine system. And for people that have type 2 diabetes, I do think there's the potential to not be diabetic anymore with changing your diet and lifestyle. And that includes fresh air, sunshine, positive thoughts, getting
Mm-hmm.
enough rest. There's a lot of things, healthy
Yeah.
relationships. It's not just about diet.
Absolutely. And plus bonus says, Anne, who is the kindest person you know?
It was my mum. My mum,
Ah.
she's gone now, but she was such a lovely person. She was very, very kind and very non-judgmental. So
Mm-hmm.
I've been a bit different. My choices to the person. And she was always very, very non-judgmental about whatever I did. So yeah, my mum influenced me hugely. She was a very, very kind person, very loving. So I felt very fortunate to have her as a mother. And she's still with me now, even though she's not physically with me, because she's
Mm-hmm.
influenced me so
Mm-hmm.
much. Yeah.
Amazing. Beautiful. And Kathy says, oh, this was the same type of thing, the sugar question. So I'll skip that. But Veganese says, what is your favorite fruit?
I think my favorite fruit overall is the Charente melon, which
Mm-hmm.
is a French melon. It is a really gorgeous orange flesh melon, and it is so perfumed. If you have a bowl of Charente melons in your house, the whole house just smells delicious. And I was fortunate enough to go to France one year when I lived in England for melon season, but they are a delicious fruit.
Wow.
They do grow them in New York State, I believe, and
Mm-hmm.
I've bought them before in farmers market in New York City.
Yeah.
But yes, not had them for a while. I can't grow them here because it's too humid. We're too
Mm-hmm.
humid to grow. They're more of a Mediterranean. But yeah, Charente melon is, if you ever get the chance to try one, they are a beautiful fruit.
Amazing. And Sylvia says, I would love to ask Anne's advice on keeping your skin and hair looking young. Your skin looks amazing. You're just glowing.
Oh, thanks very much. I think it's what you put on, in the inside that affects your skin and hair. And I do use things, but very simple things. Like on my skin, I just really use shea butter, and I use that on my hair as well. I do use
Mm-hmm.
like a natural shampoo and conditioner, but I think it's mainly what you put in. And I think with the sun, we do have to be careful. The sun affects our skin, but at the same time, it gives us vitamin D, which is really important because vitamin D is like a hormone more than a vitamin. It affects our whole bodily system, and it's very, very important for health. So I think we do need some sun exposure if possible, but again, be careful. And it depends on your skin type. If you
Mm-hmm.
have a very fair skin, you have to be careful. You don't want to
Mm-hmm.
damage your skin in the sun, but at the same time, sun to me is very, very important. Also, keeping
Mm-hmm.
hydrated. So a fruit diet, when you're having mostly juicy fruit, you're pretty hydrated anyway. But with water, if you're feeling thirsty, you may need to drink water as well. And some people again ask me, Matt, do you drink water? In the winter or in the cooler months, I can go for weeks without drinking water, but I'm still hydrated. I urinate regularly. My urine is a good colour. But in the summer here, or when I'm doing a lot of physical work, I will drink a lot of water in addition. So for me, I go by my thirst. So some months I might not drink water, other months I'll drink 2 litres of water a day in addition to all the fruit, the juicy fruit that I'm taking. And I think that's very important. And also with hair, I think what I've done for the past, oh gosh, probably 30 years is to wash my hair in cold water, even in the
Mm-hmm.
winter. And I think cold water is very good for the hair. It doesn't damage it, and it also stimulates the scalp, which is good for hair
Mm-hmm.
growth. So I think that's
Yeah.
something that I've done. I recommend washing hair in cold water. And I've done it in the UK in winter, and I've still gone, oh, and it's really cold, but then
Mm-hmm.
it's invigorating and it gets a lot of blood flow to the
Mm-hmm.
scalp. You can also massage your hair, massage your scalp. That's very good for getting blood flow to the scalp.
Yeah, absolutely. And with the water you drink, so I'm wondering, do you have views on which water is best? Distilled water, spring water, or?
I don't drink tap water. I think anything apart from tap water, anything, I think fluoride is potentially
Mm-hmm.
harmful to us, and chlorine. So I don't drink tap water. So I'll either drink spring water or distilled water. I don't have a real, well, I suppose spring water from an actual spring is preferable to
Mm-hmm.
distilled water for me because there's a bit more life or energy in it. But I think we can energize our water by putting a little bit of lemon juice in it or lime juice, or putting it in the sun, and also thanking it, saying thank
Mm-hmm.
you to your water can energize
Mm-hmm.
it, because water is like, has a memory kind of thing, so it can hold on to stuff. And there's a book called The Secret Power of Water, where they say thank you to water, or they say horrible things to water, and then they crystallize it out. And the water that has been blessed or given thanks to shows beautiful crystal patterns, and the water that's been said horrible things about shows really jagged, not attractive crystal patterns. So I think as well with our water, we can give thanks to our water and appreciate getting our water, because so many people don't have access to water. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, for me, I will drink both distilled or spring water, but probably a slight preference for spring water.
Mm-hmm. And Joanne says, and what is the best cancer killing fruit in your opinion? And do you know anyone who has done the grape fast for cancer?
Um, I do know somebody that has done a grape diet.
Mm-hmm.
I know other people that have done fruit diets and raw vegan diets. Um, there's a really good book, and I would recommend it. It's called The Dries Cancer Diet, and it's by Jan Dries, who's a European naturopath.
Mm-hmm.
And he has helped hundreds of people cure themselves from cancer using a fruit-based diet. Now, Joanna Brandt used grapes, and I think
Mm-hmm.
grapes are good as long as they're good quality,
Mm-hmm.
naturally grown grapes, because grapes both help you detox and build you up.
Mm-hmm.
Other fruits that Jan Dries recommends as having, they vibrate. He looks at biophotonic energy, and fruit of all the foods has the highest biophotonic energy because
Mm-hmm.
it comes in from the sun. And the flowers, the little sort of like stamens on the flowers are like antennae, and they absorb the energy from the sun. So he recommends as the best fruit for people that are suffering with cancer is pineapple, because
Wow.
a pineapple, when it's in fruit, it has lots of flowers. It's actually made up of lots of fruits come together, a pineapple, and it'll have, some pineapples have hundreds of tiny flowers on them. So they've absorbed a lot. It's really high in biophotonic energy, and it also vibrates on the frequency of cancer resistance. So he recommends pineapples. I think orange fleshed melons is also being good. Cactus fruits, any types of cactus fruit, and avocados. And there are more fruits. I can't remember them all, but pineapple is the standout because it has the highest amount of biophotonic energy. And he had one story in his book which was really inspiring, of one lady, and she had a tumor below her collarbone, and she went to see her oncologist, and she was really excited, and she said, I'm going on this new diet. And her oncologist was very skeptical, and he said, no diet has ever cured cancer. When she went back just 11 days later after embarking on the Dries cancer diet, he could find no trace of her tumor. And he was like, he said,
Mm-hmm.
what diet are you on? And she said,
Mm-hmm.
oh, diet's never cured cancer. And he said, look, I apologize, I really apologize, but I've never seen anything like this at all in my whole, history of being an oncologist. So I would definitely recommend reading The Great Cure by Joanna Brandt, and also
Mm-hmm.
looking at the Dries Cancer Diet. Both of those books are excellent, looking at how we can heal our bodies with the help of certain types of fruit. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And Kelly says, how can someone cook normal for a family and be fruitarian? I know a lot of people struggle with this, with, staying on track when their family isn't, when their
Mm.
family isn't fruitarian or raw.
Yes, and I think that can be hard, because if it's just yourself, you can just say, right, I'm not going to have any cooked food in the house. I'm just going to have the fruits I
Mm-hmm.
like. Especially, I cook for my family, but I've been doing this for a long time. I think what's important is to have lots of the foods that you like, your favorite fruits about, and make sure and prepare them nicely for you. So when the family sit down for their meal, you have a nice plate of the fruit or the fruits that you want to eat, and display it, cut it up nicely or present it nicely. And even if you're doing like a mono diet, if I was doing orange juice and the family were all sitting down for a big meal, I would have a nice goblet or a nice glass and have my orange juice and a nice jug, and just make it special, set it
Mm-hmm.
out very, very nicely. And if you're going through a period where you're transitioning and it's hard to cook, then maybe it's if there's someone else in the family that can do the cooking just for a
Mm-hmm.
while, because it's important. Your family's needs are important, but so are your own needs. I don't have any problems cooking for my family and not eating it, because I've come to the point I don't see it as my food. I've got my food and I'm happy sitting down with you eating my food. But if you're
Mm-hmm.
going through a stage where you're very tempted, and if it's certain types of food that tempt you and others don't, then maybe change your family's diet. So still give them cooked food, but cook the foods that you're not going to be attracted to. Look after your own needs, and make sure you have plenty of fruits that you love or vegetables that you love there, so that when they're having their foods, you've got something that you really enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
And another strategy that I think is very useful, that I got from the Beverly Hills Diet by Judy Mazel. Her book wasn't even vegetarian, but she knew the importance of fruits.
Mm-hmm.
And she would have her clients on 2 or 3 days a week of fruit diet. And something she said, tell yourself, nothing is leaving the planet. If I really want this, it'll still be there tomorrow. Because sometimes if we tell ourselves, I can't have this, I'm never having it again, subconsciously our brains will rebel. What? Never have it again. I want it. I want it. And we'll start craving it. But if you just think, it's okay, nothing's leaving the planet, it will still be there tomorrow. 9 times out of 10, when tomorrow comes, we don't want that anymore. We've given ourselves permission to have it, but we don't really want it. But it's denying ourselves something that can make us rebel against that and make us want it when we don't really, really want it. So, you know, if you're cooking something for your family, you say, oh, I really want some of that. It's okay, nothing's leaving the planet. If I want it, maybe I'll have some tomorrow. And then sit down and have what you would prefer to be eating. So yeah, that can be a good strategy as well. And just have strategies and you know, maybe cook things for your family that you're not so attracted to, or maybe get someone else to do the cooking for a bit if that's possible. So, you know, look after yourself as well as your family is important.
Really good points. And Evan says, do you ever experience exhaustion or emotional or mental challenges on the fruit-based lifestyle?
I don't think I get so much exhaustion. I sometimes get physical exhaustion if I've been weeding. I've just moved into a new place and there's a lot of weeding. So if I've been weeding all day, I feel like tired at the end of the day, but it's a nice tired and then I sleep well. But yes, I still get challenges. I think we still, you know, have emotional situations that come upon us, challenges. Life throws things at us. Life throws curveballs and that kind of stuff. But it's how we deal with it. And it's very true. It's not what happens to us in our life. It's how we deal with it. And I think being on a fruit diet can help us be more balanced with our endocrine systems, with our emotions. And so I think we can deal with things better. This was a few years ago, and it was the worst point in my life because my mum had died. And at the same time, I found out that the person I was with had cheated on me, both at exactly the same time. So emotionally, it was a very, very challenging time. I'd been raw for quite a few years at the point. I thought, why should I bother? Why should I bother? I feel so bad. Why should I bother carrying on like this? I should just go and have a drink. I should just eat some cooked food. I don't care anymore. I didn't. I sort of, it was hard, and it can be hard if we're going through emotional sort of challenges and we're on a fruit diet. It can be raw emotionally because we haven't got any security blankets, we haven't got any drugs or alcohol or fatty processed foods to take the edge off our pain, but we have to go through it. And often going through it in the raw, short term, yeah, it's tough, but long term, we've dealt with it. And we don't have to sort of go through it again because we haven't suppressed our emotions. We've gone through them. And when I was facing this big challenge in my life, I went running 3 times a week. I ate very well. I kept on my fruit diet, though it was hard. And short term, it was tough. But long term, I dealt with it. I had to deal with all those emotions rather than just dumbing them down or self-medicating. So it doesn't stop us getting challenges, but I think it can help us deal with them. And at the same time, it can be tough. It can be tough dealing with challenges when we haven't got a drink, or we haven't got drugs to take, or we haven't got really processed comfort foods. But long term, I think it's the best way to deal with things. And, you know, we can't stop what life throws at us, but we can change how we deal with it, how we react to it.
Absolutely. And Timothy asks, do you know any strong muscular fruitarians? So I guess somebody who's really strong and muscular fruitarians. And what are your sources of iodine?
I would say Orville Douglas, I think his name is, and he's on Facebook. He's got a very good physique. I think as a fruitarian, you're never going to be huge. I think a lot of people that are huge and take steroids, I think some men can get a very good physique on a fruit diet. I think a lot is genetics as well. I've known people with 6 packs that have done no exercise. I think genetically we are limited. Some people are naturally going to be more muscular than others, but I think his name's Orville Douglas and he's on Facebook. He's got a very good physique. There's also Mike Velasti, who's on a raw vegan diet and is, you know, pretty muscular, does weights and strength exercises. So I would check both of those out. So sorry, what was the second part of was there a second part?
Where do you get your iodine?
Yeah, iodine. I don't take an iodine supplement, but I'm aware of iodine deficiency symptoms, of which I'm, as far as I am aware, I'm not experiencing anything. If I was, I would probably look at taking sea vegetables. Also, eating fruit that's grown fairly near the coast. Years ago in England, people who lived in Derbyshire, which was the furthest place away from the sea, would get Derbyshire neck or goiters because they were iodine deficient. Because in those days, everyone ate local produce. It was like 95% of their diet. So it's important, I think, to eat food grown near the coast or in a variety of soils. I have concerns about supplementing iodine. I think you have to be very careful because if you take too much, you can actually burn your thyroid gland out permanently. Also, I read a book on iridology from the 1920s where this man had got severe issues with his liver from having iodine painted on him, and also from people taking iodine orally. I think it's not like B12, where you can take B12, and if you take too much, it's no big deal. Vitamin D, you have to be a bit careful again with taking too much because it can be toxic. Vitamin C, things like that, take as much as you want, basically. But iodine, be careful with it. I don't supplement. A lot of people do. I think if you do supplement, be very careful and know what you're doing before you supplement. Talk with somebody that knows what they're doing. I would say that I must be getting iodine from my diet sufficiently because I don't have issues in blood tests with my thyroid function. I haven't had swelling on my thyroid gland that I'm aware of. I haven't had hair loss and other things associated. My metabolism seems to be working pretty well. So you can look at deficiency symptoms of iodine, see what they are, see if you're suffering from any of them. Seaweed is a good one, I think, to take. I mean, if you live near the sea, you can. I have done this before years ago when I lived near the sea, to harvest seaweed fresh and eat it. And you can also soak seaweed. It's very high in sodium, so if you don't do well with sodium, what you can do is to soak seaweed, rinse it, soak it, rinse it, and then when you've rinsed it a few times, there'll be a lot less sodium in it. Yeah,
I love kelp noodles too for iodine. They're good. Yeah. So Pam says Dr. Clement from the Hippocrates Institute cautions against fruit and how he says fruit can have cancer causing effects. So she said she would love to hear your input and maybe some encouraging thoughts on that.
I would say that you can eat a raw vegan diet high in greens and low in fruit, be very healthy. But I would also say the other way around, you can eat a raw vegan diet high in fruit and low in greens and be very healthy. There's different schools of thought. I would definitely read The Great Cure by Joanna Brand and The Dries Cancer Diet by Jan Dries. And there's different thoughts of why fruit can be good to help people heal who have cancer. One of them is that it helps detox while supply the nutrients. That's more Joanna Brand's. Joanna Brand tried all sorts of things to heal her own cancer. Water fasting helped, things helped, but nothing totally healed her cancer until she went on the grape diet. And then she went off from South Africa, left her family behind, went to America to spread her knowledge. And she did help a lot of people. There's case studies in her book, The Great Cure, that show that people, even this woman that had like stage 4 cancer that she didn't think she could help, she helped the woman heal by using the grape diet.
It's a great book.
Also, there's also the Jan Dries book, and he looks at the vibrational aspect of foods and biophotonic energy. So fruit contains the highest biophotonic energy, and also certain fruits vibrate on the frequency of cancer resistance. So he sees what's happened with cancer cells is that their polarity has changed, and they've changed. So normally our cells are very helpful. When their polarity changes, the cancer cells are no longer helpful to our bodies, and they have the opposite effect. They're harmful to our bodies. But by having fruits that vibrate on the resistance of cancer, on the vibration of cancer resistance, it helps repolarize our cells. So they go back. It doesn't destroy the cancer cells, it changes them back. And the example of the woman who 11 days later, her tumor had gone right down, so the oncologist couldn't see it at all. That's like, it was repolarizing her cells. So it wasn't destroying the cancer cells, it was repolarizing cells, changing those cells. So I very much believe that both are sort of like a high green diet and a high raw vegetable diet and a high fruit diet. Both of them can help people. You've got to find what works best for you. Some people with cancer may find that the fruit doesn't work for them so well. They prefer doing the greens. Some people may find it's the fruit that works well. I've met personally people that have healed themselves using fruit diets to reverse cancer. So I know people personally, as well as reading many testaments. So I personally believe, yes, that we can reverse cancer. We can repolarize cancer cells using a high fruit diet. But again, it's a personal thing. If you're suffering with cancer and you feel that a different type of raw diet would be better for you, then I don't think you have to do a fruit diet, but certainly some people, many people have healed themselves using a high fruit diet.
And so Jordan says, what do you eat when you're in a place that doesn't have fruit?
I've always found fruit. And I think that's a mental thing as well. I've been in places where I didn't expect there to be fruit, and I found fruit. I think the more that you are attracted to fruit, the more it's attracted to you, and you will find it. I've been to places where I thought, oh, I won't be able to, there'll be no fruit here for me, and found fruit. So I don't think I've ever been anywhere, any city, any location, where I haven't been able to find fruit. So if I did, I would just fast. I wouldn't have any trouble fasting for 2 or 3 days. I would rather water fast personally than eat something I didn't want to be eating. I think most people, if they're in a good state of health, can water fast for 2 or 3 days. But so far, I've always found fruit, or it's always found me. So I've been fortunate. Yeah.
And Garden Bliss says, do you believe in God? And also a second question they have is, what did you feed your kids when they were really young, like 3 to 5, ages 3 to 5?
So yes, I do believe in God. I don't prescribe to any organized religion, but I do believe in God. I do believe there's a higher power. I do believe there's a creator to the universe. I do believe that we have a design that rather than just occurred by chance. So yeah. And sorry, the second question.
And then the second question, what did you feed your kids when they were really young?
Oh yeah, my kids were brought up on a fruitarian diet, but also milk. I think for children, breast milk is very, very important for the first 3 to 4 years. And I think that's an important thing to take into consideration. I do believe children need milk for about 4 years. And if we look at societies where there are no domesticated milk-giving animals, which aren't so many now, but because milk's just about everywhere. But years ago, there were a lot of societies in Asia where it wasn't traditional to have milk, and people would breastfeed for 4 years because there wasn't any available milk. I think that is very, very important. If you're going to have children on this diet, are you prepared to long-term breastfeed? Because it's just not usual in our society, and that brings a lot of social challenges with it. My older boy was breastfed for 3.5 years. My younger boy was breastfed for 4 years and then just self-weaned. And my older boy was 7 months, and then I started to introduce fruits. So I would just introduce the softer fruits, bananas, avocados, custard apples, take seeds, take peel off when they're very young. But yes, so for the first 3.5 and the first 4 years, they had milk and fruits. And then when they were weaned, they had a fruit diet with nuts. They did have some nuts and seeds, which I think are important, for protein, because children need more protein, they need more fat. I did get greens in for my children because I thought they might need greens. So I would buy greens in, but they wouldn't eat them. They showed no desire for greens. So basically, both my children were brought up on breast milk for the first 3.5 and the first 4 years, and fruits. And then they both decided when they were 14 that they wanted to eat other vegan foods as well. But both of them were on a fruitarian diet until they were 14, and they did have nuts, they did have seeds as well.
That's great.
And I think children need more concentrated foods. So they need the fattier foods, all things like jackfruit, chempedek, figs, dates, more concentrated foods because they are growing than adults. But Yeah, they had a very similar diet to me, apart from they'd have more nuts and seeds than I would,
Yeah.
and maybe more fat when they were growing. Yeah.
And you had no problem with them eating enough calories and like thriving, having enough? That's great.
No,
Good.
they were both, neither of my children had any of the usual childhood illnesses. They were
Mm-hmm.
very healthy and happy. They had a lot of energy. And I think that's why I didn't have any social issues. One of the main reasons,
Mm-hmm.
because they were healthy, they were happy. And what can people say if your kids are healthy and happy?
Yeah.
So,
Okay. So the next question is, what fruits do you recommend for a very sensitive gut?
for a sensitive gut, I would
Mm-hmm.
recommend papaya. Papaya is a really gentle fruit.
Mm-hmm.
It's very good as being anti-inflammatory. It's not acidic in its pH. So papaya, I think, is excellent. Another fruit would be pears.
Mm-hmm.
Pears when they're ripe. You can eat pears when they're hard, but when they ripen, they get soft. Pears are very, very gentle. Custard apples as well, if they're nice and ripe, don't tend to be acidic. I would avoid acidic fruits. I would avoid maybe the more dense fruits like bananas that can be a bit harder to digest. Maybe other fruits would be really ripe persimmon, not
Mm-hmm.
when they're hard, but when they get anything that gets really soft and is pre-digested, and maybe certain types of melon, if again they're nice and ripe, because melon is very easy to digest. I
Mm-hmm.
would avoid the pH acidic fruits like citrus, kiwi, pineapple. But yes, papaya would be my number one for sensitive guts, because it's easy to digest and it's just a very gentle. I always think papaya is just a very gentle fruit. I
Mm-hmm.
like the red papayas. I think the red papayas, when they're perfectly ripe, are probably the easiest to digest. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So Gemini has a great question. They're all great questions, but so Gemini says, in thinking back over the years, is there anything you would have done differently in terms of the diet?
I would have paid better attention to my teeth at the beginning. For the first couple of years, I thought I can eat as much fruit as I want, and I was eating more at the beginning because I needed to eat more, and I didn't pay the attention to my teeth that I do now.
Mm-hmm.
So I would definitely brush. I mean, like I brush my teeth 4 or 5 times, floss, rinse my teeth after I've eaten anything that's slightly acidic. Brush my teeth before I eat, and I didn't know that. So that's one thing I would have done differently. Other than that, no, I don't think so. I think I was fortunate because I met David Shelley. I
Mm-hmm.
read his book. I read Arnold Ehret's books, Essie Honourable, Maurice Crock. All those books, I think, give very good advice that doesn't age. And I would have done the same kind of thing. I would have done the transitional diet. I would have ordered organic fruit, tried to find really good fruit.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, with my dental hygiene, I would have taken better care of my teeth. At the
Mm-hmm.
beginning, I thought, oh, I don't need to eat fruit. It's not going to affect my teeth. But yes, for most people, fruit does affect the teeth the same as any other food, and you do need to have very good dental hygiene.
I think that's a
Yeah.
common mistake too. I think that happens a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Dorothy says, do you have any tips on overcoming salt or cooked food cravings when you transition to the fruitarian diet?
I think maybe having savory fruits, having good quality tomatoes. And what you'll notice when your palate starts to change, now if I have a tomato or even some avocados, they can taste salty, even though they've got no added salt, because I don't do well with salt. So I don't have any added salt on things. And like I like olives, I like raw olives, but I can't really have them. I did find some raw olives that didn't have salt on, which were really, really nice, because I like that, the olive flavor, and olives are very alkaline for me as well. So have the savory fruits. So tomatoes, if you do okay with nightshades, not everyone does. Peppers, bell peppers,
Mm-hmm.
and cucumbers are a nice one. Cucumbers can be quite savory and also very good for silica. So cucumbers are very good, especially if you can get organic ones, for the hair and the skin, because they have high levels of silica. Avocados, if you like avocado. If you mix fruits, you can make a mixed fruit salad. If you eat greens, have greens, because spinach can have a salty taste sometimes, and celery, and have those. Make yourself up a savory salad when you get cravings, because some people do like that savory
Mm-hmm.
taste. I still like savory fruits, and they think too much sweet, and yeah, so balance that. Make sure you have good quality tomatoes, organic heirloom tomatoes that have got good natural sodium in, because we need sodium. It's not that we don't need sodium, but we can get sodium from the fruits that we eat, and orange fleshed melons and honeydew melons have quite a good amount of sodium in them. So when I do mono melon diets, I don't just do watermelon because that's lower in sodium. I make sure I have a variety of melons and eat near the skin with the melons, because that's where a lot of the sodium is. Also, a lot of other fruits, the mineral and the sodium content is higher near to the skin. So eat near to the skin if you can, and if it tastes good. So yeah.
Okay. And Diana says, is it true, Anne, that successful fruitarians can only thrive on high quality tropical fruit?
High quality fruit, yes. Tropical, no. I think if you get good quality temperate fruit, good quality apples and pears and peaches and berries, blackberries actually have the highest antioxidant content of all fruits they've tested so far.
Wow.
You don't need tropical. Blackberries, mulberries, cherries, great temperate climate fruits. Any type of globular berry like dewberries or young berries, all of those crosses, raspberries. Strawberries can be very heavily sprayed, so I don't eat strawberries unless they're organic or non-sprayed. I've lived where they grow strawberries and they're shocking with the amount of chemicals they put on strawberries, so I'm wary of strawberries. But you can get frozen organic berries as well, so all year round you can access organic berries, you know, if you want to. So I do think high quality fruit, but you don't have to go tropical. I think you can be just as healthy. If I was living in a temperate climate, I would try and access as much local fruit and forage as much local fruit as I could. Blackberries are really good in the UK, in parts of America. I'm not sure about Canada, but a lot of areas, blackberries are super, and they grow wild. Don't take them from areas where cars go past or where dogs could urinate on them, so higher up. Pick as many as you can, freeze them or dry them, and then use them all year round. Yeah, I don't think we need tropical fruits. Beautiful, yes, but so and a lot of temperate fruit be, as long as it's good quality. The trouble is with apples and pears, a lot of them are cold stored. A lot of the old varieties have gone. They are coming back more. Years ago, a friend of mine, he was fruitarian and he was living in an organic apple orchard in the UK, and he bought me a box of about 20 different varieties of old English apples, all perfectly ripe, all organic, and they were, to me, as good as a box of mangoes. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, Dawn says, do you take any omega-3?
I don't take any omega-3, but I do eat a lot of papaya. And papaya, of all the fruits they've tested so far, has an extremely high omega-3 to 6 ratio. It has a lot more omega-3 than 6, which is unusual for any type of food, and unusual for quite a few fruits. So I do eat a lot of papaya. I think personally, if we're eating good quality fruit and non-processed foods, then we're generally likely to be balanced in all aspects of our diet. And look for deficiencies, look for inflammation. If we're not getting enough omega-3 and we're getting too much omega-6, we'll have inflammation in our body. If you've not got inflammation in your body, I think it's pretty likely that you're getting a good balance of omega-3 to omega-6. And there's lots of other things as well. You know, exercise, fresh air, sunlight, all of these things help balance our bodies and balance inflammation in our bodies. It's not just what we eat.
Yeah, absolutely. And Alley Cat says, after Hild Larson passed away, is it best to stick to fruit, in your opinion, and not do added detoxes like fasting? So she's asking, in your experience, are extra detoxes necessary? So we did talk a little bit about that. Yeah.
For me, yes, for me, I think water fasting, short water fasts are usually okay for people, you know, but just make sure you are in a place. If you're very underweight, like a lot of people who are suffering with cancer are underweight because they metabolize their energy in a different way, so become very underweight. And in certain cases, water fasting is not a good idea. If you're already at a very low weight. I think mono diets of fruit can be useful, but not taken to extremes, and you've got to take things day by day. You've got
Mm-hmm.
to see how you're feeling each day, either on a water fast or a mono diet. And if it's not working, there's been times when I thought, oh, I really feel like doing a mono diet, and then I thought, no, it's not the right time, and I'll stop. I won't just go on blindly thinking, well, I've said I'm going to do a 20-day, I'm aiming to do this, but if it doesn't feel right, I will stop, and I won't carry on doing the diet. I think most people can do mono diets, but I think we have to be careful of our body's needs
Mm-hmm.
and listen to our body. And it might be that it's not right for us to do any more detox. And we have to look at our weight as well. And I think it's useful sometimes to have a minimum weight of which we don't want to go below. So if we're doing a mono diet or fasting or any kind of detox, and we go below that point, saying that's it, I don't want to go below this weight. And be open-minded when we're doing anything, and think, I've done mono diets and I've stopped doing them because it hasn't felt right. On the other hand, I've done a mono diet and said I'm going to do 20 days and ended up doing 40. But monitoring every day, it's like having faith but not blind faith. Every day of a mono diet, saying, is this working for me? Am I feeling okay? And or is it not working? Am I losing too much weight, or am I not feeling good on it? And I do still do mono diets because of things I don't have control over, such as environmental pollution, stress in my life, working on a computer, all these things that aren't really natural. If I was living in a Garden of Eden, I don't think I would have, with no pollution, I wouldn't need to go on a mono diet. I don't think I would do them anymore. But where I am at the moment, I find them useful, so I do them. And I find that mono diets for me have helped me maintain a good level of health on the fruit diet. The very first mono diet, when I needed to eat less fruit afterwards, helped me set me up for long-term success on the diet. And I think throughout the year, for me, doing 2 or 3 mono diets helps me like get a bit of a service. But having said that, over the course of a year, I think variety is very important. I think we can do short mono diets, but yes, make sure the rest of the year we get a good variety of fruit grown in different areas, grown in different soils, because some soils might be deficient in selenium, some soils might be deficient in manganese or copper. But if we're having a variety, and even if I'm doing a mono diet, I'll try and get a variety of oranges grown in different areas, for example, so that if the fruit is deficient in copper, another fruit I'm eating might have come from a different area where there's a lot of copper in the soil. So I think variety is important. And I think not having sort of things like, well, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do a fast of this long, I'm going to do this, and be very defined about it. Take it day to day. And if it's not working, then, do something else. Reassess.
Yeah, absolutely. And Vincent says, what is the secret to long-term success on this lifestyle?
I think there are 3 things that are important, or more than 3, but 3 main things that are important for success on this diet. One is the foundation that you lay is to be ready for it spiritually, emotionally, mentally, physically. So that can usually be a transitional period. Prepare your body. If you don't feel ready, then, don't do it more of a transition diet, or, just think about it more. So be prepared, set a good foundation. The second thing is to access really good quality fruit. I think that is imperative. I think organic fruit has been shown time and time again to have more nutrition than non-organic fruit. And one reason is that fungi in the soil, or mycelium in the soil, are vital for many trees assimilating calcium and other nutrients from the soil. If the soil is not treated well and chemicals are put in the soil, it kills the fungi, it kills the mycelium, and so those trees do not absorb the calcium and other minerals. So yes, organic or good quality non-sprayed wild fruits, very, very important long term, because if we're deficient in micronutrients, we won't thrive on this diet. It's about thriving, it's about feeling good. It's not about just hopping along and sort of dragging yourself out of bed every morning. It's about springing out of bed every morning, unless you've had a particularly wild night, the night before. And the third thing is having faith. And that is a continual thing. And it's not blind faith. It's faith that's built on by reading and researching on all sorts of areas of science, because science is important to me. Dietetics, biology, anatomy, physiology, networking with other people, looking at other people's experiences, and maybe changing things day to day, and having that faith. And if you don't feel that the fruit diet is the diet for you, or a high fruit diet is the diet for you, then maybe it's not at the moment. Maybe you need to look into it further. You need to have the faith, because otherwise you haven't, again, it's part of having foundations and reassessing things every day. Arnold Ehret said, and I respect Arnold Ehret's work a lot, and he was a pioneer in this field. He said the reason that most people fail at fruit diets and fasting is through not taking into account individual needs, and these needs are not static over time. So over time, things might change. You have to look at things. You might think, oh, I don't like greens, but and then another day you might really want to eat more greens, or you might want to eat more fatty foods. You might be told, oh no, you can't have more than 10% fat. But then as a woman, you might think, I really feel like eating some fattier foods. And women, we do need to have a certain percentage of body fat for our endocrine system, for our hormones to work. So we might be a bit different from men in that respect. And there might be times over the year, or times in our lives when we need more fat. And it's about, being open to that and continually looking at what we need, and being open to change as well. If something's not working, being open to change. So I think those three things, being ready, getting good quality fruit, and having faith, but not blind faith, are three very important things for long-term thriving on this diet. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I know somebody else asked, how do you feel 30 years in on this? And I'm wondering too, how old were you when you started? Your early 20s, right? When you started?
Yes. I started when I was 24, just going on to 24 when I started on this diet. I feel great. I wouldn't do it if I didn't feel good. I'm always going to be vegan. Unless I get Alzheimer's or my brain changes, ethically, I will always be vegan. I can't not be vegan. But I'm open to not always being fruitarian. If it wasn't working, I'd be happy to be a cooked vegan ethically. I'd still be happy to be a cooked vegan. I wouldn't have any problems ethically. But yes, it works. And I do, I run 10 kilometers every other day, and I can still run. And I'm very thankful that I can run, and my joints are fine when I run, and that I can work in the garden all day, and that I can, have busy days and do what I need to do. And yes, at the end of the day, I might feel a bit physically tired, but I sleep well, and I wake up the next morning ready to go again. If I wasn't feeling well on this diet, I don't have any issues with changing. I never said I'm going to be a fruitarian for life. I said I'm going to be a vegan for life. But it works. I mean, I can't think of any other diet that would work as well, because I've tried, various types of vegan diet. I don't do well with salt. So if you don't have salt, it's like, most cooked vegan food tastes bland without salt. So what would I have? And there's nothing for me that I enjoy as much as fruit now. I can have a Rollinia, and that tastes like, I used to love lemon meringue pie when I was a kid. That was my favorite dessert. My mum would make lemon meringue pie. It was great. Now I can have Rollinia, which is a fruit that tastes like lemon meringue pie. Or you can have abu that tastes like caramel, or you can have durian that tastes like coffee gatto, some types of durian, only better, and they don't make you feel sick afterwards. So there are so many different types of fruit. There's creamy fruits, there's sweet fruits, there's tart fruits, there's juicy fruits, there's denser fruits. It's not like a lot of people who eat cooked foods have the same kind of meals. They have maybe 5 or 6 different meals throughout the week. But with fruits, you could have a different fruit every day for years and years and years if you wanted to, if you so wanted to. So for me, there's such variety, there's such deliciousness, there's such variation in fruit. And it's like no 2 pieces of fruit taste the same. So on a mono diet, I never get bored, because every melon's different, every orange is different. Whereas if you have a can of baked beans, every can tastes the same, every loaf of white bread just about tastes the same. So I just get enthusiastic about fruit. I love it. I love growing it, eating it, researching about it, and I'm happy doing it. And I still feel good. And if I didn't, then I would look into, well, what aren't I getting? Do I need to change anything? For me, veganism, I won't change veganism, but yeah, I would change fruitarianism if it wasn't working.
And where do you think you would be now had you not taken this path?
I don't think I'd be running 10 kilometers every other day still.
Mhm.
I think I would be finding it difficult to maintain my weight, whereas I've never even thought about maintaining my weight. I'm the same weight as I was when I was about like 18, 19. Because just eating your natural food, you naturally maintain a good body weight. Even with my pregnancies, I only went up to 60 kilos. So I'm normally about 50 kilos, which works well for me. Can go up a bit if I'm eating a few more avocados and that. I don't think I'd be as healthy. Maybe if I was on a different type of raw vegan diet, I would still be healthy. Even I noticed my family has arthritis, like genetically, that's a genetic weakness in our family. And when I was vegan, I noticed, and I was like in my early 20s, and I noticed swelling in some of my finger joints, even at that early age. Since I've been raw vegan, I've not had that. I think I would be maybe having some joint issues by now. Yeah, I don't know if I would have kind of just gone through the menopause and not even noticed, apart from my periods stopped. So yeah, I feel for me personally, this diet has worked really well. I think as well that if I had even been on a vegan cooked diet, I don't think it would have worked so well. I think I would be having some health challenges that I
Me
haven't
too.
experienced.
Yeah, me too.
That's how I
And
feel.
I'm just wondering, do you have any tips or advice for somebody out there who might be struggling with their health right now? They're not feeling so great. Maybe they don't have a lot of energy and they're not sleeping good, digestive problems, and they sort of have a hard time staying on track mentally and getting themselves to take the plunge to live a healthier lifestyle.
I would think, love yourself. Think that you're worth it. I think a lot of people sabotage their lives because somewhere subconsciously even they think they're not worth it. They put other people's needs as important. They look after other people. They don't look after themselves. I think people self-sabotage in relationships, in food, in all sorts of things because they think they don't deserve it. So love yourself. Be kind to yourself as well. Be kind to yourself. If you want to be eating a fruit diet and you go off the tracks, don't say, oh, I'm a failure, I'm stupid, I'm rubbish, I've failed again. Don't use those words because every detour can be a learning experience. The fastest way to somewhere is not always the best. Sometimes we have detours and they teach us things. So if we eat something that we'd rather not be eating, don't say, oh, I failed again, I'm stupid, I wish I hadn't done that. Just think, well, observe it and look at the effects rather than judge yourself. So think, well, if I eat a meal of mangoes, afterwards I feel energized, I feel happy, I have a good bowel movement the next day, I wake up in the morning feeling good. If I have a bowl full of potato chips, the next day I might feel sluggish, my digestion might not be as good. If I've had salt on them, I might feel a bit puffy. Observe the effects rather than judge. Some effects will be effective, some will be non-effective, and be kind to yourself and think that you're worth it and do things gradually. Maybe ease into things, have fruit for breakfast or have fruit for lunch or have one fruit meal and then gradually increase your fruit. And sunshine is very important. Sunshine has been demonized. Yes, excess sun can be damaging. Excess sun can damage your skin and you don't want that. But an appropriate level of sunshine is very important for many hormones and for like a lot of processes in the body as well as vitamin D. It's not just vitamin D. And vitamin D is very, very important hormone-like substance in the body. Most people are deficient in vitamin D. You can supplement, but sun or getting a lamp is better because it gives you more of the products that sunlight gives you in your body. And even if it's cloudy, you can still get vitamin D at some parts of the year, but you can still get the benefits of sunshine and the benefits, the hormonal benefits, even on a cloudy day. Exercise really does make us feel good, and it doesn't have to be that you go running or you do this. Do what you enjoy doing, what you can do. If you can't walk, sit in a chair and do exercises. You can do weights, do something. If you can't run and you can walk. Do an exercise that's appropriate for you, and it really will make you feel better. And the more you exercise, the more you're likely to exercise, and it's a habit as well, getting into the habit. And it's like, some days when it's my running day, and I'm thinking it's like 6 o'clock in the morning when I go for my run. I could stay an extra hour in bed, but it's like the effects of my choices. If I get up and do a run, it'll set me up for the day. So you get up, do some exercise first thing in the morning. If it can be yoga, it can be stretching, it can be anything. And that can really help you, and feel that you're worth it as well. Feel that you're worth having the best possible health, and really have a lot of positivity and kindness towards yourself. I think it's really important on this journey.
Absolutely. Well, this has been so wonderful. I want to thank you so much for your time and everything you've offered here today. It's been incredible. And I want to say, where can everybody find you? And do you have any books or anything as well? I'm not too sure if you're an author or just, yeah.
Yes, I do have a book. It's not in print at the moment, but if you email me at fruitbatan@yahoo.com, which is fruitbatanne at yahoo.com, then I can send you a free PDF copy of my book. I'm on Facebook. If you search Anne Osborne, Fruit Bat Anne, find me on Facebook. And I put a lot of posts there about fruit, different types of fruit. And I've got some albums, a lot of newspaper clippings. I think there's about 186 old newspaper clippings about the fruit diet in recent times, and how it used to be promoted a lot in the mainstream media.
Wow.
Got a YouTube channel. I don't do much on YouTube these days, but I have got a YouTube channel, Fruit Bat Anne, and yeah, Instagram, Fruity's Cute on Instagram. So find me there, and put up
I'll link it all below too for you. Yeah, well, thanks again. You're so awesome. I've really loved this. And to the viewers, I hope you guys have loved this as well. It's just been so amazing. And if you did, be sure to give it a big thumbs up. Make sure you guys subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.
Thanks very much. Thank you. Bye.